So a pretty big thing in podcasts just happened, and it's kind of game changing and well interesting and sad at the same time.
It's finally time we talk about something we don't talk about a lot on this channel. Scams. This one doesn't involve me, though, or anyone that I know, but someone that I love. Someone who is a hero on the internet. Theo Vaughn. Have you heard of him? You probably have. I like Theo Vaughn a lot and have for a very long time.
Hey, I've always wanted to make love to a blind woman. Is this something you'd be interested in? You know?
Yeah. Theo Vaughn, you may have heard of him, recently brought a fraud and a scam to light on a large scale. I had already heard about this because I'm into the podcast scene. I like Tom Segura. I like Your Mom's House. I like Joe Rogan. So I heard about this thing a couple weeks ago, and I figured we could turn it into a video, a story that you guys might be interested in yourselves.
Our podcast was defrauded. We were stolen from. We were taken advantage of. A lot of ways to say it. The company that did it.
By the way, this is the podcast name. If you do not know, it's great. It is absolutely great. And the people that are there, you know, it's actually quite interesting. There's a lot of different. There's a bunch of comics. There's, you know, people who you don't even expect. For example, I forgot his name, but you won't you would be surprised how many different people actually come on this podcast.
It is Cast Media, and the man that did it is Colin Thompson.
And there's a lot of levels to it, and it's bad, and it's gonna get way bigger. This guy, he seems like an alright guy. He looks nice. I can't really tell if he has a negative or positive canthal tilt, and that's how I judge people now. That with and buccal fat. That's how I judge people now. Theo was a part of a larger group that was stolen from by Cast Media. Chances are pretty high you are aware of another creator, if you don't know who Theo is, who was stolen from by this company. This company was pretty damn big, and up to $4 million was defrauded, according to Theo.
There's up to $4 million that I know of that people were taking advantage of. We're in.
I mean, he actually did get scammed, but you need to remember in this situation, right? There's one crucial thing. All of these middleman companies are essentially scams. Like, if you're the size of Theo's podcast or any of these other podcasts, you just hire a guy who just looks at sponsors, and then he's just like calling them and saying, hey, want us to do a sponsorship deal for you? And that's what you do. You don't go for these third-party companies when you're this big, because they are gonna just, you know, skim off the top while offering you, well, pretty much whatever, because they get money based on, well, whatever you pick. So they don't care about actually giving you a good product, a good deal. They just want you to take something because, you know, they get money from it. So they're always bad. Any type of middleman usually is actually kind of bad.
In the 6 figures. I know of podcasts that are in the 7 figures.
He says in the video that he had a deal with the company where everything was kind of going good. They were reading ads. They were selling out things for a year in advance, which is pretty standard in the space. The whole shebang, all right? But over time, payments became less and less to the podcast crews, and it's a business. You have employees. You have to make payroll.
We had a deal with this company, right? And it was started off good, and then it started to get where we were getting less of our payments. It got to be where we were getting paid less of the payment we were owed. And they sell all the ads a year in advance, so you're kind of stuck into the year, right?
Theo was able to fortunately make a deal to cut ties completely since Cast breached their contract, you know, over non-payment. But then Colin Thompson comes along with Podcast One or Live One.
By the way, if you're a smaller YouTuber and you do deal with these third-party things, pro tip: just sign the deal in the last possible minute, because you can very easily tell when these people want you to do it, and you know they're okay with you not signing it instantaneously. They give you the brief, they give you everything, and stuff like that. Well, if you're dealing with them the first time, this may not work. But if you're dealing with a company you have already worked before in the ad agency, and they give you these deals, they're probably going to keep you around. They want to keep you around. So you not signing that deal until the last 2 days when the ad needs to be done works. So You can just bait them along like this. And if you screw them over, maybe they're not going to be back at your doorstep the next month, but 2 months down the line, they're going to be back at your doorstep. Because they're not going to waste, they're not going to lose money because you didn't do one ad for them. I have done this multiple times, by the way. It's like I say, yeah, sure, then I decide, you know what? No, I don't want to do it. And until then, they're like sending me an email every single week saying, "Why haven't you signed a contract? Can you please sign a contract?" Because these are individual people who actually really, really need you to do this deal for them. So they're gonna bank on it because you need to understand the organization structure of these things. Now with this, it's slightly different. But if you're not a giant, YouTube channel with million subs, this advice is very, very useful for you.
Where they try to get him on a call with this guy, Rob Ellen, and tell him that if he comes to the new network, Podcast One, they'll pay him what they're owed in stock share. Oh my God.
But the stock hasn't gone public, so they're trying to, it felt like to me, they're trying to leverage our podcast and other podcasts to then make their stock do well. And then if that happens, then we'll get a share of our money, right? Like it just...
Which, by the way, is in most situations illegal. If you have done a contract and you need to... Because every contract will have a clause which says how you get paid. Well, there's also smaller details and things like that you should know of. But but those guys most likely did not put. Well, maybe they did. I don't know because I haven't seen the contracts. But my first assessment is they probably don't have a clause in the contract which stipulates that, well, the company that's currently scamming them can single-handedly choose to change the payment method of the money owed to whatever party. That they have nothing like that. So they can't. So they can't actually force you into being paid in their shares when the company goes public. That's just not how it works.
The whole thing to me felt really seedy.
Let's hypothetically say my name is Cornball Holson. Okay, I steal your money, and then I say, okay, well now I can't pay you back the money because I embezzled it, and it's it's mine now. It's my assets, and you can't seize my assets. But how about instead of us paying you what you're owed, you invest in my new company, and we'll pay, and you speak positively about it, so you can basically, make the price go up, and then we'll pay you in stock of that company, so then you can rug pull and be a part of a greater, more evil scam that affects more people. That's how I'm interpreting what that is. That seems crazy. Theo...
Slightly correct, but one thing is wrong here. Well, actually, it could play out in multiple ways, but they can't rug pull. They cannot rug pull. The companies that are getting scammed can't actually rug pull in this situation. That's the most hilarious part of it, because when it goes public and when they get paid out, they are gonna get paid out most likely by a clause stipulation in the contract that says current stock price as of X date of payout, which means if it's already pumped, they're gonna receive less shares. It's not like a flat out thing. Okay, you're gonna receive 10,000 of these shares. No. You're gonna receive 10,000 in the money that is these shares, which means that could be like maybe 100 shares or 1,000 shares, or maybe it has gone down so it's like 1 billion shares. That's how that works.
Asked if Colin Thompson was going to be a part of this deal with Podcast One because he's a crook and he didn't want to be involved. And they told Theo that he did a good job and he would continue being a part of the team.
I know some of this is a lot of insider baseball, man, but to me it was just it felt real dirty, and it felt like just no respect for podcasting, no respect for the work that we had done.
To me, this seems disgusting and horrible. and so bad. And I'm very glad that Theo had the cojones to make a video about it, because his voice matters. And, you know, a lot of people love this guy.
True, though.
And he does good. He just does good. He doesn't make shit content. He doesn't talk shit. He's just a good guy who doesn't deserve to have something like this happen to him. Then someone reached out to Theo on Twitter and said, why even give Colin the exposure though? And Theo said, so it doesn't happen to other people, honestly. This does more negatively than like a lawsuit or getting your money back. This is a better form of payment than anything. Having the truth be told and having people actually understand what's going on and know that you were taken advantage of, I'd say that's better than a judgment or a lawsuit, especially if you're not going to get your money back, which honestly, that doesn't seem like what's going to happen.
But you fucked with the wrong rat, homie. I have a voice. And a lot of other people are forced into these bad deals because they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to speak up, man.
Yeah.
And that's not what our show is about. I just want you guys to know that this is the man. We put his picture up on the thing, on the YouTube.
So who exactly is Colin Thompson and also Cast Media? This dude is kind of a cartoonish villain behind this entire big alleged fraud scam thing, and also just general poor treatment of talent that are signed with them. By the way, the only reason that there's revenue anyways for any of these management companies is because there is talent. They are not talent. They are not the ones that people care about. They're the ones who are good at manipulating brands and giving them more money. Like, that's not awesome. That's an L. Colin is the CEO and founder of Cast Media, and this guy fucking loves podcasts. He's your average white young adult. I mean, we love podcasts.
Is this whole video gonna be him having a strange voice changer above him? Because sus.
We really do. By the way, I think I have a podcast. I don't know if you guys knew that, but good luck finding it. My dude also loves partnering with podcasts.
I run a digital media agency called Cast Media, and we really focus on podcasting. And we have clients that range from...
By the way, more accurately, he doesn't like podcasts as much as he likes making money off the backs of podcasts and then cutting them out. So this man is being trashed online, as you can imagine, anytime Theo Von makes a
I mean, say what you will, but at least he did a smart thing.
Video.
It's a miracle Theo actually spoke out, honestly. Most people are afraid to take the L, you know, because a huge response of a lot of people online is going to be, haha, idiot, how did you fall for this scam and all of that jazz, which is, you know, a common way that actually scams continue to thrive because people are afraid to speak out.
Taking a stand against someone saying that they stole from him, defrauded him. You can imagine there's probably going to be a big negative backlash on the internet. Colin Thompson is a fraud and a thief that fucked with the wrong guy, Theo Von. He allegedly stole millions of dollars from multiple podcasters and comedians through ad revenue deals where he pocketed a percentage that wasn't agreed upon. True.
By the way, also, small tip. Adding the word allegedly, or in my opinion, doesn't save you from liability. I don't know where this started, but yeah, saying, in my opinion, allegedly, has absolute no power in court to save you from getting sued for slander and other things.
Based and red-pilled. Now, if that's true, that's embezzlement. That's a crime. Federal crime. Oh, and if the contracts are signed over state lines, oh, it makes it so much worse. Anyways, I know a lot about this stuff. Colin recently has also gone private on Twitter. If you were wondering, like, how to follow him, if you really want to get a feel of what this guy's thinking and saying on a daily basis. Poor little guy couldn't take the backlash after being exposed, and also just being terrible to people that he was responsible for, and the literal reasons for any of his success. What I will say is what I said earlier, in that Colin and his team at Cast were pretty good at matching sponsors with shows. It's a pretty successful business. If they're missing 4 million, you can only assume that there was a lot more that was made, by connecting brands with these shows, because that is a difficult part of this game, is being able to get into contact with brands, to be able to keep shit on air, because it does take a team to run a long form podcast. Yeah, Cast Media.
Not really, actually. Not really that much. It's as simple as this. You contact those people. You can even contact them through, I don't know, you want Apple to sponsor you? You just contact through customer support. and it will work. If Apple's interested in you, say, hey, Apple, what's up, buddy? I got 5 million subscribers on YouTube. Do you want to, like, give me free shit to review? I'll put in a good word for you. You literally tell that to customer support, and it's probably gonna work out if Apple wants to do it. That's how this stuff works. It's that simple. A basic support, you just need to find a basic support email. And if they're interested, they're gonna see this.
Dope as fuck when it comes to connecting talent with brands, which is a difficult thing to do. Yeah, but on the flip side, it didn't end that well. It's pretty despicable, honestly. It's crazy. I mean, the voices that they are using to make money and sell the products are the ones that they're taking advantage of and then just stealing the money from. Check out the About Us to Cast Media. Cast Media launched in 2016 as a production company for the creation of premium podcast content. Cast has grown to become a leader in the creation and representation of premium quality shows, both audio and video.
Okay.
The only good podcast y'all got is fucking Theo Vaughn. Okay, come on. Another victim of Colin and Cast Media was Logan Paul.
Nice.
Known scammer and extraordinaire of being a piece of shit. He got a taste of his own medicine a few years ago when he worked with Cast for the production of his stellar long-form content. Dude's a genius. This was when Logan had his old set for Impulsive. I think it was at his house. I really don't know, but they had audio engineers that worked for Logan, and then Logan fired them. In this clip, you can see it's kind of interesting.
Everyone's getting fired. Yeah, the guys, the engineers running our soundboard are not our typical engineers. I fired Cast Media. I fired them today.
Logan decided to fire the Cast team after they made a bunch of mistakes, fucked up audio on an entire episode, and then refused to come to work on Columbus Day. That's awesome. Columbus Day, my favorite.
Hey, actually, props to Logan Paul for doing something good. You should fire the people like that. Because the thing is, a lot of these people who do YouTube have absolutely zero business experience, zero understanding what money does. And I have said this once, I'll say it a million more times. The average YouTube contract is bullshit. Okay, for all kinds of promotions and stuff like that, because these companies that do these contracts, most of the time they are fearful of getting backlash if they screw someone over. This is not real life. YouTube contracts are not even close to real life. In real life, every contract that giant corporations sign amongst each other pretty much gets rewritten 3 to 5 times. Because one side is always trying to fuck up the other side. And again, I've worked at the government for large corporations. I have seen this. There is no such thing as a serious business where anything signed that is a contract does not get checked out by a legal team. There just doesn't exist anything. And on YouTube, by the way, if you're a small channel, you don't actually need to read the terms and conditions for any sponsorship that you do on average. Because they're not gonna try and scam you. That's the reality. They may actually be late for the payment for a month or 2 sometimes even, but they won't try to actually scam you. Because they're afraid of the backlash. So YouTube contracts and people at YouTube talking about business, 99.9% of the time, they are literally as clueless as a homeless person about how fucking life works.
Favorite holiday to celebrate and take off work for. Yeah! Hassan also got fucking scammed, guys. Everyone's favorite socialist.
Obviously.
Very rich,
Good,
wealthy,
though.
successful, charismatic socialist with a lot of riz.
It got to be where we were getting paid less of the payment we were owed. And they sell all the ads a year in advance.
Yeah, for us, like, our biggest problem is, between Will and I, our biggest problem was that, like, we just didn't get...
Oh, a great example, actually. The H3H3 podcast. Remember when that podcast said, hey, we got actually scammed by our accountant? You see, this is why middle managers exist, okay? Because any smart, capable person who understands things in business and finance knows one thing. That you can do almost nothing if you want, as long as no one's checking your work. This is why This is why there's a middle manager for your middle manager's middle manager. So situations like that don't happen. In H3's situation, what happened was he was doing some things, then he hired a woman accountant to do it for him, but he never actually checked out, does she actually do the things properly? Well, turns out this woman literally decided, fuck this, I don't want to do this. And she just didn't. And that happened for a very, 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 very long time. And, well, obviously, considering he didn't check any of their work, you know, he essentially got scammed. And legally, I'm pretty sure you can't even do anything, because her legal defense in this situation is she forgot, or it wasn't clearly defined in her job role. And, well, in that case, if it's not actually clearly defined in her job description, you can't do anything about it. Nothing happens to her. It's literally his own fault for not checking her work. This is why there exists 50 layers of middle managers. So stuff like this doesn't happen. And YouTubers just don't understand this.
This shit, because like I didn't care about the podcast as like a revenue stream, but for Theo Vaughn, this is a huge revenue stream for him, right?
He goes on to relate to his experience with Cast and getting fucked over and losing a bunch of money. They're pieces of shit. People don't deserve to be taken advantage of like this. Also, Hassan, it's funny, he didn't even seem to know how bad he got fucked over by Cast, because like he didn't really use his podcast Fear and Molding as a revenue stream. He didn't even really know what they were doing or anything. That's baller.
Well, first of all, that's bull. Hassan obviously cares about the money. Second of all, Hassan's literally too stupid to understand how much he got screwed over or what really happened. That's just the brutal reality of it.
That's the proper way to run a business.
So like, that's why we definitely got fucked over as well. But like, I wasn't even completely oblivious to it. I did not give a shit about making money off the podcast. I only cared about just like making a podcast.
Hassan was even told by Cass that over a course of a year working together, they only made $6,000 and they only got paid at the end of their year-long contract despite doing ad reads every single episode. What? That's insane!
True.
No way! $6,000? That is like 5% of what you should make per month with a podcast that is as relevant as Fear and Molding. That's crazy.
I don't know
could
the
never imagine
podcast, but I'm
signing a
assuming that's
contract
true.
that says that. My favorite podcaster, by the way, Brendan Schwab, also was fucked over by Cast Media. On his podcast, The Fighter and the Kid, they talked about their experience on one of the most recent episodes of the Fighter and the Kid podcast, which is hosted by Brendan Schwab and Bryant Callen.
We spoke with CoffeeZilla, Steven, who I'm a big fan of, and obviously Theo Vaughn announced on his YouTube channel.
Oh, bruh, no, fuck off. I hate CoffeeZilla so much. CoffeeZilla is not an investigation channel. None of his videos, at least in the past, I don't know, year, actually uncover anything. He literally just repackages publicly known information as he investigated something. The biggest thing that he exposed was the Logan Paul thing, and he didn't expose shit. All the information he actually provided in that thing was already known. It was out there in the open. In fact, it was old news because people already talked about it. And then people are hailing CoffeeZilla as this grand investigator. Bruh, the guy literally just Googles stuff and clicks on the first 3 links and then repackages it to present it like he actually did something which is false. Man, this is such bullshit. Like, I think that there have been situations where he actually investigates things, but man, that's no longer the case. That was years ago, dude. That was years ago. Now he literally is just a news channel that fakes the fact that he investigates shit. The only real thing he probably does is talks to the victims, which is, by the way, a manipulation tactic. If you did not know that, you probably didn't, so I'll explain this a little bit. But that's a manipulation tactic because, let's say you have these two situations. Someone tells you 1 billion people died in Kenkuki-kwa. Oh, who cares? That's the thing. But if someone tells you your neighbor died, you're instantaneously, oh no, that's bad, yeah. Because it's you know that person. You have put a face on it. CoffeeZilla just tries to manipulate people into caring because he puts faces on people with sob stories. I put all my money into it. I thought this is gonna be a big thing, good thing. I lost all my savings. The reality of those people's stories is they're fucking idiots who just thought that they're gonna make a quick buck even though they didn't see a blatant scam a mile, literally in front of their faces. That's the reality of that situation. CoffeeZilla just tries to emotionally manipulate people and that's it. Garbage.
Channel, what exactly some of the issues we've been having as far as
What
the
he
podcast game goes.
Yeah.
Then both of these old men talk about how nobody really cares about the numbers. They care more about the fact that they've been just screwed over, which I agree with completely. The money doesn't really matter. If someone's not getting paid, that matters. If someone's getting fucked over as a result of a scam, that's bad. You're stealing money from someone directly who relies on this. But on top of that, people really just care about getting fucked over more than anything. They also say that they've been with Cast Media for 4 fucking years, dude. What? That's a long relationship in this space, I feel like.
Our advertising agent was Cast Media.
We've had several
owned
before
yes.
that.
But in the past
with
4
Cast
years
for
or so,
Dude, again, these... I don't... this just shows how little these people understand. They should just buy a guy for I don't know, 4K would probably be even enough. Buy a guy for 4K and just tell him, hey, you know companies exist out there, like for example Gillette. Yeah, you find their contact information, if possible, directly to some representative of their advertising agency, and you contact them and you start off instantaneously with the fact that this is like a multi-million sub podcast that they want you to represent and pay. Now figuring out how much they should ask for the brand deal, now that's a little bit harder honestly, because but still it's doable. And by the way, in fact, it's the easiest way to figure out how much a brand deal is doable is wait until a third-party agency contacts you, and then add 20-30% on whatever that they gave you. Contact Apple, name them that price plus that 20-30%, and check out their response. And they're gonna say, yes, sure, we want it. That means you asked too little. And no, that's a bit expensive. And they try to lowball you by 50%. Well, there you're probably getting screwed. But you can gauge these things. It's not that complicated in reality. But it sounds complicated. And you need to know how these things happen, which these people never know.
3 to 4 years. Probably 4.
More than that, 4 years. A little over 4.
And they worked with Colin for a long time, and they worked across various podcasts with him. Brennan then goes on to say that out of all the people who didn't receive money, no one was screwed over as badly as he was.
As the story goes on, and you guys are familiar with, I'm sure other podcasts said they didn't receive money, and obviously Theo didn't receive money. No one got more screwed over than I did.
Not even
because it crosses a lot of other shows, not just one.
Probably because you worked with them for fucking 4 years. And put all your trust. I don't know. I feel bad they got taken advantage of by this piece of shit company, but that is... I love that.
I almost don't, because I like the business world. If you're not trying to take advantage of someone, you're not doing it right, on one hand.
They then reveal the number that Cast Media and Colin owe to the Fighter and the Kid podcast. It's almost $500,000, $476,000. That is so much money. And across all shows, they're owed about $1.5 to $1.6 million.
I wonder what they are doing. Are they, is that company putting in money into investment or gambling with it, or what's happening? Because the reason why you don't want to pay out creators as fast as possible is to save money, because you can put that money in somewhere, right? And that over time increases your actual profits and how big you become and whatnot. That's the reason why they don't want to pay them out. They just want to delay it as much as possible.
And the kid was owed somewhere around $476,000. Then I find out that Thick Boy Productions overall is owed, and this is the number that was floated from our accountants before they'd done a real investigation, around $1.6 million. I don't know if you guys, if that doesn't seem like a lot of money to you guys, that's a lot of money.
This could be a
my
class
God,
action
so
lawsuit at this
crazy,
point.
just of unpaid money that I assume doesn't exist and will never be paid.
Yeah.
On top of Brennan Schwab.
So this is essentially, by the way, have you ever heard the term of a bank run? This is essentially the equivalent of a bank run, but on a company that's not a bank. Everyone now wants their money real fast, but the company has no money to give, so maybe it's gonna go down because of it. Who knows? They're gonna get sued and all of that stuff. This is the risk.
Bob and Bryant Calhoun. Jason Ellis and Tony Hawk were also victimized by Cast Media. Jason Ellis posted an Instagram video about the whole big thing.
Where's Jason
Those
Ellis?
guys did a terrible job with the Jason Ellis show and with Hawk versus Wolf, to the point where we tried to get out of the deal, and we had a 1-year deal with Hawk versus Wolf, and then when I said there was a meeting to negotiate a 2nd year, and I was like, when is this
Jesus Christ. I also don't understand these people, why they are actually making such long deals for a year. Well, technically I do understand that, and probably some of you yelling, wait a minute, making a 1-year long commitment is not actually that true! But that's implying that you have the ability to actually cancel the contract from one side if something goes wrong. That's when it's fine. But this, judging from everything we're hearing here, I don't think there's a possibility to just cancel the contract if one side wants to. Well, at least if the people who are getting scammed want to cancel it. I don't think that's a possibility even for them. I have done a 6-month contract with one place while I did ads. And I never signed anything. We did a word of mouth thing. And every month they just send me a brief, and I do the thing, and it's for that one time, and it's just okay for 6 months we can do this, and there you go. There's usually, by the way, not even a really good reason why you should ever sign in a situation like this something for a year. First of all, if you're signing it for a year, that means that you have lost money because they want you. That means they want you. That means you are not abusing the fact that that company wants you in the first place, which is actually bad business. You need to make that company prove that they want you by sweetening it up, by giving you a bigger number, by giving you things. That's how you play the game. And it seems like they just don't do it. They just, okay, let's sign for a year.
meeting gonna happen? And they were like, yeah, we'll get right on that. And then the next week I was like, when's this meeting gonna happen? They're like, oh man, you missed the deadline, so you have automatically re-signed for Hawk versus Wolf for a 2nd year. And I was like,
that's normal.
Mean? That seems a bit pushy.
That
but
seems
okay,
normal.
I don't know about podcasting. Maybe that's what they do.
That is classic YouTube MC and scammery
Yep.
right there. That's fucking machinima to a T. It's crazy how all this stuff just happens. Like, podcasts are like a newer kind of thing. Not really. They're pretty old. But
Well, this happens because all of these people who get these millions think that they are the best because they have money, right? They made money. That means they're smarter than the average person and whatnot. They're not. They're fucking clueless. And then someone takes advantage of it. See, this is one of the reasons why I absolutely just laugh at people who say, oh, Elon Musk just rolled the dice 50 times in a row and got all the good outcomes. No. Elon Musk most likely in his lifetime and on his journey to become a multi-billionaire has seen probably 1,000 people who try to take advantage of him. And he most likely said to every one of them no, because, the guy's just smart enough. There's so many things people just don't understand about how the world functions.
them being very popular and in like a primary form of media, that's pretty new. When YouTube in general was blowing up and becoming one of those things, the same shit happened. The same exact things. Just in 2008 and 9 and 10 instead of 2023. Stardate. What assholes though? You can't do that. That's illegal. Get a lawyer. Then Colin Thompson apparently accused Tony of slander, even though Tony had been professional. Dude, Tony seems like such a nice guy, just in general. How could you accuse Tony Hawk of slander, you fucker?
Well,
I love him.
We went
depends
through a lot
on what
to
the
get out of
word
that.
means.
At one point, he threw slander and some other stuff at Tony.
Apparently, also at the end of their second contract, Cast Media fired them, saying that Tony was impossible to work with. And it's also funny, since they fired him, how come their podcast is still on your website, bro? If they're impossible to work with, why are you still...
Because Tony Hawk hasn't demanded they pull it down, and that's free advertisement, blah, blah, blah. Basic stuff, really.
Using their brand to elevate yours, huh?
Obviously.
Then Jason goes on to say he found out from a person named Shane that Colin had gone bankrupt, and that's probably why he stole all this money, embezzled all these funds, defrauded all these creators and people that actually have talent to start his new business. He also wanted to bring Jason and Tony back on after firing them for being impossible to work with and then refusing to pay them. Huh? What the fuck? The point is, this happened to a lot of people that are really entertaining with gigantic audiences who didn't deserve any of this stuff. So, you know.
Is that the point?
What's Podcast One, though? Why the fuck is that a new thing? Why did they want to get rid of their shares to pay these people back? Well, Podcast One went ahead and launched, and the stock fell 40% from $8 a share to $4.39 a share at the time of recording this video, and I assume it's going to continue to fall more. Hopefully this video has an impact on that. Anything that Colin works with, in my opinion, is something as a creator you should stay very, very far away from, given this burden of proof that this man is shady and these business practices are bad. Don't work with these people. If you're starting a podcast, be careful. Do it yourself if you can. Now, obviously, Podcast One tried to kind of back themselves out of the corner, and Rob Ellen stated that they wouldn't be hiring Colin anymore because he was just awful, and they wanted to help the people that were harmed by the fiasco. But I think it's too late to take the high road, dude. I think it's too late to take the high road. I'll join Podcast One and start a podcast that will probably be pretty popular if the first person I interview is Colin Thompson. Podcast One, if you're listening to this, and I will take payment in your stock as well, if that's possible too. Like 100% of the stock. I want to become the owner, and then let me interview Colin.
Of the stock.
I also think it's hilarious.
Okay, well, that's it. That was our boy Oomfa. Actually, by the way, you know, some of you may not recognize, but the things he says and how he says, he actually does have a far bigger understanding about this stuff than the average person seems like. When you hear someone like Modahat, for example, speak about stuff like this, it is just clear the guy has no fucking clue what's actually happening. At the best case, he's trying to just reverberate something he read on Wikipedia. But this guy actually kind of says stuff in a reasonable way. Because the trick about people who understand stuff and don't understand stuff is very uncanny. It's just how they speak about certain things in what way. If you're a professional in a field, you can easily tell another person who's good at that stuff by the way that they speak about certain things. And that's kind of like the secret. It's actually hard to dupe someone who's good at something, because you can't you will just discredit yourself by saying something that no one actually good at that thing would ever say. That is what it is. Anyway, this was Quizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye bye.